my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Get Out of Your Own Way podcast. I'm your host, Sam DeSalvo, and if this is your first time stopping into the podcast, welcome. We are so glad to have you. We talk all things wellness, motivation, productivity, healthy living, and business. And today's episode is a special one because it's the first time I have a guest on the show, and I'm so excited to share this episode with you guys. So I chose to have Brittany Geremia on the podcast as the first guest. She's a personal trainer in Rhode Island. She offers both in-person and online training, and she's also a WBFF competitor. I thought she would be an amazing first guest to have because she's just such an inspiration and motivation online on social media. And I know she impacts so many women. So I figured she'd be an amazing guest to have on the show. In today's episode, we talk through so many different topics of challenges that you'll face in the fitness industry and what it's like to be a competitor, and then also just tips and tricks that you as a beginner or a seasoned fitness athlete can take with you and things that you can keep in mind in different ways that you can start your fitness journey and why it's even important to do so. So I'm very excited to share this episode with you guys. And if you guys could rate and subscribe this podcast, it helps so much. And also share it on social media so it can reach some more people. Thank you guys for listening, and I really hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Hi, Brittany. Thank you so much for coming on to the Get Out of Your Own Way podcast. I'm so excited to have you on today. I know that many, many women look up to you. I look up to you as well. You are just such an inspiration on social media, in the fitness world. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Yeah, I was really amped when you messaged me because I feel like for me, a podcast is just one of my favorite ways to get to know people and get information. And it's my favorite thing to do when I'm driving to and from work. So to be able to be on one, especially yours, which I know is new, but all of your episodes have been so great. So I'm super thankful that you asked me to be a part of it.
Oh, that's cute. Thank you. Thank you for that. For the people who may not know you, first of all, go follow Brittany if you don't know her. She is a personal trainer and she just did a bikini competition show, the WBFF, right?
Yes, I
How about you just kind of give the people listening a little background where you kind of came from, how you ended up becoming a personal trainer? What's your story? I love to know people's stories.
Sure. So, first, I'm going to be 32 this year, and I have been a personal trainer now for 2.5 years. But before that, I was a full time hairstylist for about 13 years. Throughout my life, I wasn't super into sports or anything. I was actually into theater and choir and musicals, but I was always a very outgoing individual. I went to hair school directly out of high school. And I feel like that was where I really started to get my feet wet in the service of making people feel good. And I did that full time for 13 years. So that is kind of my initial background on everything.
Awesome. So let me ask you, so you were a hairdresser for that chunk of time, and
Mhm.
obviously you did enjoy it for those 13 years. So what made you really take the leap into the fitness world, becoming a personal trainer?
It was really scary. I actually still do hair 2 days a week because I couldn't give it up completely. But fitness for me in general is it's so important about obviously your health, your physical health, living a long life, have optimal health and longevity and being able to do things and move well. And we're getting older and I want to feel good and I want to live a long, healthy life and be around for my family and my friends. But it was really a mental health thing for me at first. So even though I was super happy doing hair all that time, and I feel like I really came into my own in those 13 years, I built a beautiful clientele. I was very fortunate to be really busy, and I was a happy person. I had a lot of fun, a lot of friends. There was always a part of me that felt disconnected from the world, disconnected from myself, and I don't think I could figure out what it was. So once I finally started taking care of my own body, I woke up one day and basically just said, enough is enough, and I'm going to stop having FOMO. I feel like that was my issue. I was young, I had FOMO, but the decisions I was making were not giving me long term satisfaction. It was like instant gratification and then like automatic regret.
Yeah, yeah.
So once I took the turn to start taking care of myself, I realized that my mental health was increasing so much, who I was as an individual was increasing, and, like, who I was able to be for my friends, for my family, for my clients was increasing. So, I said,
Yeah,
I
that's
already
awesome.
make people feel beautiful behind the chair. Why can't I make people feel beautiful like on the inside?
I absolutely love that so much. I definitely feel you on that, that fitness is so much more than just looks and aesthetics. Like it really does go so much deeper, and how you feel on the inside is going to be a result of even just how you look on the outside, the way you hold yourself to your confidence levels. And you come off as a very confident person. Like you said, fitness plays a huge role into that confidence, into building your self-worth and who that you are. And now having a career that you're aligned with also boosts that confidence. So, what are some of the struggles that you faced before? You said, like, I had a hard time giving up hairdressing completely, like, it was so scary. What were some of the setbacks that you had before, like, really taking that leap?
Well, we live in a world where everyone loves to judge, especially when you're so vulnerable on social
Mhm.
media. So I chose to put my life out into the world. And there are days that it can be challenging to do so, but at the end of the day, I don't regret it. However, I would say my first initial moments of like questioning myself were one, am I going to be able to be as successful, if not more? Because I've built this successful business and I'm doing really well for myself. Am I just giving that all up for I have no idea what's to come in the future? So that was the first thing. And the second thing was truly everyone who I told I was doing it was questioning me. Friends, family, people
Mm.
weren't being supportive. They felt like I was making a irrational decision. So just knowing that people around you look at you and think that you're crazy, it can be hard when the only person really supporting yourself is you. That was probably my hardest to
Yeah, I don't know if you have found this. I found this like with all my different ventures that I've taken in business and in life. I find that I keep a lot of things private now before I'm like already knees deep into it, before they can even say something. So I like to kind of go for it and go do what my heart's telling me to do. And then once I'm already there, people can't be like, well, why are you doing that? I'm like, well, I'm here now, aren't I? I already did
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Do you find that you do kind of too now?
I try to be a little more private. However, I would say that's one of the hardest things for me. I don't know if it's just from being in the beauty world for so long. I'm such a sharer. I mean, I feel like hair appointments are essentially venting and gossip and just like chatting the whole time. And I love to tell people about things when I'm excited. So I've gotten a little better at keeping things to myself
Mm.
slightly until I know that I'm definitely going for it. But I do think that I'm just someone who I love to share. I love to open up and I love like I have like word vomit when it comes to myself. So it can be a good thing and a bad thing.
Yes. And I bet that's definitely like one of the reasons people love about you is that you're just so open and vulnerable too. So that is like a good quality, but then at the same time, it can bite you in the butt per se because people want to share
Yeah.
their opinions on things too. That definitely
Mhm.
can be challenging to find the middle ground to it, right?
I would say my best and my worst quality is I am so open and I'm so forward and blunt that I think sometimes it can be really good for me, but it can be challenging too.
Do you find that with hairdressing and personal training, I know that you said that you love to make people feel good and boost their confidence and stuff. And that's like one of the qualities that you got from hairdressing and kind of translated it over to personal training. Do you feel like there's any other skills that you kind of took with you from the first career you had to the second?
I am good at reading people and I think I'm really good at being able to make multiple connections. I think that a gift that I was given in my life is being able to have 10 different types of people in front of me, and I can genuinely and truly connect and relate to every single one of them on like a different standpoint. I feel like I have a lot of layers to myself. I went through a lot of different things in my life that molded me that were some were really hard, some were really good, but I think that that actually benefits me so much in both industries.
That definitely makes sense. Like you said, just conversating with people and making
Yeah.
them feel good, feel comfortable too, especially like when you're sitting in a hairdresser's chair. That's like the most for me, it's when I feel the ugliest, like when I first get there. But people can feel like very like vulnerable there. And then same with personal training.
Yeah.
Some people when they're just getting started on their fitness journey, like they feel so awkward and uncomfortable. And being able to make someone feel comfortable is an awesome skill that you have. So that's amazing.
Thanks. I always say you can be incredible at what you do, But if you can't connect with people or if people don't like you, you're not going to be successful at it. So,
I definitely think in any business, networking is so important and like the people you meet and the connections that you have with people are going to be so beyond your talents and your skill sets.
yeah, absolutely.
You mentioned that you were scared that you weren't sure if you were gonna be able to make the same amount of income. Can you tell us, like, how that kinda looks for you, like, now? Like, is it similar? But, like,
Yeah.
have you found that you trusted in yourself to make this decision?
So it was definitely scary because I worked for myself. I still do. So obviously I work out of All Day Physique, but I am a sole proprietor and I was a sole proprietor as a full-time hairstylist, which means that I just rent my space and all of my clients that I get are mine. All of my products that I purchase are mine and I am responsible for all of my income, my taxes and everything. And fortunately enough, I would say within the first 6 months I was already just about matching what I was doing full time behind the chair. So,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I would say not only am I would matching when it comes to down to it at the end of the day, but maybe even a little more profitable and it's just more fulfilling now.
And do you just do in-person training, or do you do, like, a hybrid with a little bit of online and in-person?
I actually just started doing online. I wanted to get into it for a long time, but I'm someone who, like you said, like you have ideas and you talk about them. I have like so many ideas. I have 10 million things that I want to accomplish and get
Me
done,
too.
especially that come with, oh my gosh. I'm like, I want to start a cookbook and a this, and the list goes on. So one of them was online training. And I actually started maybe
Yeah.
3 months ago. So I have probably about 5% of my clients are online and then the rest are in person right now.
I love that for you. So for the people that are just kind of getting into wanting to build a healthier lifestyle and they are researching like how to get started, what's your like number one, this is where I would start if I was a beginner all over again tip?
Yeah. So for people who might not know, my initial journey was that I was 200 pounds and very overweight. So I have lost upwards of over 50 pounds now naturally through diet and exercise. So I was you. I was totally there. I was a beginner with no
Mhm.
true guidance and nowhere to turn. And I always say to start with one thing. Decide on one thing that you are going to change and focus on that and do it every single day until it doesn't feel like a chore anymore. It's just part of your routine and then you add to it. I think people, including myself, bite off way too much sometimes, way too many things and you feel very overwhelmed and it's much easier to give up when you do that. So if you start small, if there's little things that every single day you change over time, you're going to have a complete 180 and your life is going to look completely different.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you there too. This is about building small habits and building on top of those small habits after you've executed them and then you kind of build off those. So picking like the small habits that will compound into just a different identity of who you are. I think that that's super important.
Absolutely. I think that everyone wants instant gratification in this life and not that they're only, but their main goal is like an event, a birthday, a wedding, an anniversary, a
Mhm.
vacation. So they see the short term, the small like 3-month window where in reality it shouldn't be a race like that unless you're prepping for a show and then you have a deadline. But if you don't have a deadline, don't rush yourself. There's no reason to. You have your
Yeah.
whole life to make the change.
Yeah, fitness is a journey at the end of the day. Like, there is not really ever a finish line because it's something that you're going to
Never.
constantly have to work at. I'm definitely the kind of person that I will always have to work at it, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because at least I know that I'm going to be the healthier version of myself because my body kind of keeps myself in check. Like when you are putting on those 5, 10 extra pounds that you shouldn't be, like your body lets you. And I'm grateful as much of as it's annoying that my body does that because we don't wanna always have to like, I wish I had the metabolism I could eat whatever I want and be one of those people,
Me
but
too.
frankly, I'm not. Right? It's not just about how you look, it's about your longevity and your just overall health.
Absolutely. And I think that like you said, metabolisms and social media can make people's perspectives really off because there are those people out there who always look super lean and look super shredded or get a six pack in 2 months, but that's not realistic for like 90% of the population. And also, not necessarily, some people's health can't maintain that type of extreme lifestyle. So it's all in what's best for you as an individual. And that's what I think can be hard for people to try to figure out on their own is what's best for them as opposed to what's best for the person next to them.
I also was gonna ask you about is like social media and how that plays a role in the fitness industry and what should people kind of take away from everything they consume online? Because there's just so much information out there. It's actually crazy. Like you read one thing and then you swipe to the next, like TikTok or a reel, and it tells you the complete opposite thing. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
I think social media can be great for inspiration. Like, it kinda motivates you, it can motivate you, like, I think you're very motivating on social media, but then there's also a toxic side of social media. So, how can people kind of find that balance, or how do you find that balance?
You're so right. It can be so toxic, and there is a million different things on there. I want to start by saying that what works for one person, what can be right for me, might not be right for you. So that's the first thing is if you see that someone is promoting something that they've done or tried or they have this specific workout that made them lose 10 pounds and you do it and it doesn't work, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. It might just mean that it's wrong for you.
Yeah.
I do also think that there are a lot of people posting who might not be fully educated, which is okay. They have every right to post if they enjoy it, but just take everything with kind of a grain of salt and do your own research on things. I would say, especially
Mhm.
when it comes to specific diets, like there's so many fad diets now, and take this supplement and drink this green juice or take this pill and blah, 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 blah. Like,
Yep.
if something intrigues you, by all means, research about it, but do your research because you don't really know what you're getting yourself into or ask someone that's close to you that's a professional their opinion or if they know anyone that's used it or done it just because it can be really mixed. And I have a friend who she can eat all the carbs in the world and she has no like issues with them. And then I have another friend who is more insulin resistant. Carbs make her really inflamed, really bloated. Two completely different instances. It doesn't mean carbs are bad, but it affects one person different than the other.
I agree with you, Brittany, that like take everything for a grain of salt. And
Mhm.
I love the people on social media, and I kind of feel like I don't know if you're like this or not, but I follow a lot of people that just give more motivational side of things, like inspiration, motivation, and they're not so much educating. And even though like you could be a trained professional, like you said, something that may work for you may not work for the next person. So you have to be very cautious of how like people are distributing information out there. So I tend to follow the people that are just sharing motivational bits and kind of what they're up to, but they're not out here preaching like this is what you should be doing.
Me too. Me too. I feel like I try to be like that. I feel like my following likes to see very specifically what I do for myself. So I do say this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm eating, but I never say on social media you should be doing this. To my clients, do I give them very specific instructions? Yeah, but that's different because I'm working very one-on-one with them and I have a lot more
Of
information.
course.
Yeah, but on social media, it's just like, here are my recipes. This is what I like to do when I'm eating, what I drink, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, like you said, just more for motivation and ideas.
And then if, like, people decide that they wanna try that, then they should do their own research and see if that would work for them, first of all, and then even if they do give it a go and they can realize within themselves, "This works for me, this doesn't work for me."
Absolutely, 100%.
So I know we already kinda talked about, like, what would be the first thing that you would tell somebody, which is, like, start with small habits and let those build into bigger habits. What are some other just, like, tips or things that you do that kinda keep you motivated, keep you in the headspace of living this healthy lifestyle? Like, even when you get discouraged about it, what are the things that keep you disciplined and keep you going on this?
So I am someone who's very routine based. So I'm very fortunate that that is a little bit of an OCD thing I have. Like I need to do a very specific routine. I like a very specific schedule. That's what makes me feel the most at peace and the most like mentally sane. So if you are someone who is really
Yeah.
scattered, if you're very overwhelmed and you don't really know when to get workouts in, or let's say you work out 1 day a week and then you won't work out again for 3 weeks, try to force yourself to start a very specific schedule. And even if at first it's challenging and there's days that you don't want to get up, you don't want to go, even if you didn't want to do a workout that day, but you still get up, go to the gym, and you walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes and then leave, you're still creating a
Mm.
habit and a routine for yourself. And that I think can get built upon because I have only missed workouts in the last 4 years if I was sick or when I had my surgery. And besides that, like I'm
That's
in there and I'm moving and I'm doing it. When it's just something that makes me feel structured. I would say structure is the most important thing
yeah,
for me.
that's amazing that you have not missed a workout in 4 years. Like, that's actually crazy.
It is pretty
But
crazy.
props to you, girlfriend. I'm also definitely that kind of person. I'm a very structured person, pretty disciplined person naturally. I'm a Capricorn, so that kind of defines that in a nutshell. That
Mhm.
I love my routines, and it's definitely my personality too. And I feel I get that question a lot, like, how do you stay disciplined or motivated? I'm like, no, this is what keeps me sane. You probably have seen on my Instagram and stuff that I did do a bikini competition, which has been a couple of years now. I did
Yeah.
that a couple of years ago, and I do CrossFit now. So those kind of things keep me motivated. And even now I'm like kind of searching for something to like work towards because for me, like I like having a goal in mind, even though it is a journey and it's something we're going to be doing forever, having little milestones like along the way, I think help and like kind of help you like, what am I really like aiming towards right now? Are you kind of
Yeah.
similar in that?
I would say so. Like the competition was the most specific goal I've ever had, but there's always been little steps along the way where I know that in the beginning it was really about strength for me, which I'm kind of back on like that strength goal. So it depends on the perspective you want to take on
Mm,
things. Like I said, some people can do it for a specific event, which is a great way as long as you don't want to. There's the 2 types of people who will come in and say, "Okay, I'm getting married on September 1st, so I need to lose 45 pounds by September 1st." Like, that type of
yeah.
goal where it's, like, so, like, end date, or I'm getting married by September 1st, so I'd love to be, like, in a size 8 by then, and then by the time my wedding's over,
Mm,
you keep, like, it moving where there's smaller steps. So, I'm going to Mexico for my boyfriend's 30th birthday in September, so I know for me, like, I have, like, my little goals of, like, right now is strength, getting really strong, building a lot of muscle, and then I'll have, like, a mini goal of, like, leaning out again before I go to Mexico.
I love that, and, like, yeah, like you said, even just for the people that, like, have the goal of the wedding date or for yourself, like, your boyfriend's 30th birthday in Mexico, like, maybe not having, like, a strict, I have to lose 45 pounds, but, like, I wanna feel my best for my wedding. I wanna
Yeah.
feel confident when I'm hanging out the pool with my boyfriend, like, it doesn't need to be about the number on the scale, and it doesn't need to be even about how you look on the outside. It's, like, truly, how are you gonna show up mentally for yourself on these events and present yourself because you want to look at those pictures and be like, I knew I felt good in those pictures.
Yeah. I feel like I've had clients who they're working so hard and they've changed so much, but they're not happy, and it breaks my heart when that happens because every single step of the way, you should be so proud and you should feel good. And every day that you
Mhm.
decide to do something for you is an accomplishment and a win in itself, regardless of, like you said, the number on the scale or how you physically look right now.
The number on the scale is like, is that something that you really strictly follow, or are you more so going by either body fat percentage? Like, how do you kind of keep yourself in check?
So I think that just due to my past, the number on the scale still always holds a little part of me. There is a little part of me that pays attention to it, depending on what season I am in with my physique. But I tell my clients to focus on photos, focus on how you feel. And yeah, body fat percent is huge,
Mm.
especially in you do CrossFit. So I'm sure you have a lot of muscle on you. And that's what I try to explain to people. I feel like there is still such a, what's the word? a disassociation to like people's bodies being super muscular and then like what they should weigh with it. So we have an in body. Have you ever done one of those before?
I have done, yep.
Yeah, so the in bodies are great because they're going to break everything down for you by your muscle, your water, and your weight and your body fat. I've had so many clients who physically change so much and their weight barely moves because they're building muscle and they're losing fat. So the number on the scale isn't shifting at all. So I love to take pictures of myself. I take them all the time, especially when I was on prep and now post prep because obviously post prep I am putting weight on and it can
Mm,
obviously mess with you if you don't see in a photo like what's changing. So I have my clients do the same thing. We definitely use the
yeah,
scale as a small part of the data, but that's all it is. It's a small part.
yeah. Yeah, that definitely took me, I would say, a little chunk of time there. I mean, I've been in fitness and health and stuff literally since I was like 14 years old. Like, it's something
Wow.
I've literally always had to work at. So I'd say, like, starting off, so I'd be very focused on a certain number I wanted to hit, all that stuff. And then once I competed in the bikini competition, you do the in-body scans and stuff, but then your coach wants to know what you're weighing in almost every single
Mhm.
day. So you're focusing on that number so much, like, oh my gosh, I went up a pound, I went down a pound. And it's just like
Yeah.
always focusing on the scale. And then so after for me, I had to just like let go of the scale and like now it does not hold any reins on me at all. So the faster that you
100%.
can get to the point to know that, like, the scale doesn't hold your worth in it, like, no way. I also love pictures, like you said. I love pictures. Body fat percentage is a great tool, and also just knowing how you feel, knowing how your body's feeling too. Like, for me, I know by my hormones, my acne, my period, all those things. That's how I
Mhm.
also know to keep my body in check is by, like, those main health regulators more so than a number on the scale.
Oh, yeah, like, I will break out the weekend after the show. I had so much sugar in those 2 days. My skin was a mess, so it's so true, just I don't think people are able there's a lot of people who still are unable to completely read and know their bodies and feel even, like, feel their bodies when they're working out. They're
Mm,
not mentally connected to them, and they don't realize that I have a bellyache every single day. I'm eating cheese every single day. Maybe I should cut out the
mm.
cheese and I won't get the stomach ache. So, knowing your body is so much more important than a metal thing on the floor and what it's telling you, for sure. People who weigh themselves every day and obviously like you'll see a spike or you'll see a drop. That's from so many different things. This is what I'll tell my clients. Someone will come in and be like, "Oh my gosh, I weighed myself yesterday and I'm up a pound from last Friday." Like, okay, like you could have so much inflammation. You could have eaten
Yeah.
more yesterday. You could be your time of the month. Did you go to the bathroom? I feel like people don't talk about that enough, but it's a very like normal thing to discuss when it comes to weight.
Love that. So, as we were kind of just talking about and also mentioned it earlier that you did a WBFF show, how was your
Yeah.
experience with all of that? Like, what were just overall, how was it? What was your challenges? Did you love it? Did you hate it? I want to hear all the details.
What show did you do?
So, I did OCB.
Okay. I actually just went to an OCB show on Saturday. Have you ever been to a WBFF show?
No, I've only seen pieces of them. They look amazing. They're so glamorous. I'm obsessed.
Y Yes. So, like I said, grew up in theater and choir. I was a singer my whole life. I loved the stage. I was a dancer as a little girl. So, when I've gone to a few OCB shows before. I think I went to a couple other ones, and then my one of my best friends has competed in multiple WBFF, so I've gone to 3 or 4 of them. And last April was when I decided I was going to compete this April. So it was already in my head. I made the decision. I told my coach, and
Yep.
we just kind of had to prepare me for that. It was a very fun experience. I was the most excited about my bikini and my gown to start off. But like we were saying before, like we both love a routine. I had
Mhm.
a cosmetic surgery in September, so I was kind of not really super fully into training for about 8 weeks. I couldn't really be fully into it until my body healed. So it was so nice to be able to get back onto like something really, really structured. And I started my prep the day after I came home from Jamaica for New Year's Eve. So I was like all in, so deep, so ready to go. But I have to say, it was probably the most challenging thing that I've done so far in this fitness journey mentally. Not even my body was tired, my body was sore, and there was a lot of cardio, but I would say the mental toll that it takes on you as an individual can be really so that was like
Yeah.
something I didn't think I was expecting. And there was a lot of tears, especially towards the end.
I remember when I was doing my show, and it was literally the week. So my show was on, I believe it was on a Saturday. That Monday, we went into lockdown for COVID. Like the whole nation, like that was the day the world went into like lockdown. So we didn't even know if we were gonna have our show. Like every other OCB show across the U.S. had been canceled already. So just think you're on prep for 16 weeks, and then you get to your
Oh my
last week,
God.
and you're like, oh, it might get canceled. I was a mess, and obviously your hormones are already a wreck because 'cause you're doing this to
Oh
your
my God.
body, so I'm already, like, emotional, angry, hu hungry, like, I'm all the things, and then it's like, "Oh, your show might get canceled," and then my mom was just being a sweetheart, and she's like, "Well, Sam, just think, like, you made it this far, you still did an amazing thing, and you've come this far," and I just, like, snapped my neck, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, of course, like, I was very angry and hungry, and I
Yeah.
was so upset. So I feel you. I had definitely had tears too at the end for me. Yeah, it's definitely very like an emotional experience too because you're doing a lot to your body.
It is, and I wouldn't I would say I'm a strong person, and I've come to be really happy with who I am and how I look and everything, but these types of shows can really make you question yourself. There was days where I felt like I looked absolutely horrible. There was days where I felt like I looked great. It was just such a roller coaster of emotions, but at the end of the day,
Mm.
the week of the show was terrible. I had like everything that could have gone wrong go wrong. It was crazy. And on my last refeed, my boyfriend and I got burgers from Chomp. And Chomp, if you're listening to this, I was very upset. They forgot my barbecue sauce for my burger. And I got home and I cried. I I literally cried over not having barbecue sauce. And
I
I'm
would
not like a
I
regular crier.
understand.
Oh my gosh. So I got to the casino on Thursday. The show was held at Mohegan Sun, which is really fun. And right before I was about to go down for the athletes meeting, I had this random rash on my back. And I thought it was from my robe. I didn't know what it was. To sum up a very long story, I did a photo shoot outside in the woods. And by the day of the show, my whole entire back, from like the top of my shoulders all the way down to my right glute, was like covered in poison sumac. So I had to go on stage with that all over me. But even with that being said, it was so much fun.
Oh,
Like it was beautiful. They put on a great show. Everyone was so nice. Like all of the competitors, we were all like truly just like friends. Like we were having fun backstage, taking pictures together, helping each other out with like our dresses and practicing our routines. It was such a great community. And I wouldn't honestly change a single thing about that day for the world.
that's amazing that you had an amazing day and it even though you had poison sumac on you, it turned around and it was great. Did you find like, I'm curious to know because this happened to me, that people
Mhm.
as you got closer to your show and obviously your body was changing a lot, it was changing drastically, where or even now that you're done, people would say to me like, "Oh, you look too skinny," or "I liked you better with some meat on your bones, you look better now," like things like that. I don't know if you've gotten any of those comments.
Yeah, I've gotten those comments throughout my whole journey. So I'm so used to them now. It's like not even funny. The amount of insane messages I would get on social media when I first became a trainer about stuff like that was bizarre from like fake accounts. I've also had people come up to me at restaurants, tell me they liked me better when I had more weight on me. So when the time the show came, I had already been hit with comments like that left and right over the last 4 years. And I was like, y'all can say whatever you want. Like I don't we win. Right now,
Yeah.
post show, I think it's more me than anyone. Like I think I look in the mirror and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I already look so different. Are people judging me?" No one's actually said anything, but people could be
Mm.
thinking it. But I think that that's the hardest thing about the show is you're not supposed to stay looking like that. And we all forget it, I think, as competitors. And even though right now I'm in the same body I was last summer where I felt so confident, I'm like, "Oh boy, like I already look so different than I did 4 weeks ago."
It just blows my mind that people think that they have any authority to say those kind of comments to anybody, first of all. Like, it's like, you're not living in this body. What does it have to do? Like, what does your opinion have to do with who I am? And that's where, like, you need to know who you are. You need to know your own worth. Like, at the end of the day, like, in like, especially walking onto stage, like, you need to know that you were doing this for a reason. We all know, like, that physique is not sustainable. It was never meant to be sustainable. It was meant to reach a goal. And then anything like before or after that, like, that's up to you.
Did you have a good support system around your show?
I did because I competed with a group of us. So it was a group of us at Anytime Fitness in Barville. Like, they no longer do those kind of things. It was like a one-time thing. So there was like three different coaches helping like five or six of us different athletes. So there was a great we had like a team of us walking into it. So that support system was amazing. So what about you? Did
That
you have
was
an amazing support system?
I could, like, cry right now talking about it because I don't know if I could have, like, done it all without it. My boyfriend was so great, and my family was great, and when I first started in the industry, I got a lot of comments like you were saying, and my family didn't necessarily understand why I would even now, I love my family, but people don't get my posts or they think I'm posting things to get attention and whatever, but there's more to me than that and there's more to
Mm,
my social media than that. So with the show I was a little concerned about people being that way, but I was fortunate enough that at the night show I had 18 people there, which was amazing. I had a
wow.
lot of clients come, but I did have girls who their families weren't supportive or their significant others weren't supportive, and to anyone who's listening, if like you experience that, just know that like you need to be so proud of yourself because it's hard enough going through it when you have a group of people behind you or a team. But if you are doing it just you yourself and there's no one right next to you, just know that there are people out there cheering you on. And regardless of the end of the day, like just like you said before, like
Yeah.
it's a goal for you and not for anyone else. So it doesn't matter what other people say or think, it matters how you feel.
Absolutely. Yeah. So important to definitely take that with you. So I think the burning question after this whole conversation is, do you plan on doing another competition?
So right now, all right, the week we were literally done, I was like, okay, next April, I'm going to compete again. But the answer is yes, basically. However, when and where is up to question on a few things. I did place, so I competed in two categories, bikini short and wellness. Bikini short was the largest group, and I placed top 10 out of 17, which I was very happy
Wow.
with. But I would obviously like to place much higher. So a few things I want to work on physique wise would be staying a little leaner, like around the whole year and working on building glutes. So if in my off season and building season, which I'm already
Mm.
starting, I can achieve those things, then I want to compete next year and I would love to compete in Orlando. That will also depend on life at the time, buying a
Ooh.
house, potentially planning things. So, yeah, but it was fun. And I definitely will be on the stage again at some point.
Yes. That's awesome. Well, I mean, Orlando sounds amazing. Kind of like travel for
Yeah.
it, switch it up, make it feel like a whole event. Is that the kind of reason like why you want to go to Orlando to do one?
Yeah, I actually went to the Orlando show last year, and the Orlando show is a pro-am, which means the pros also compete there. So there's just a lot more media. They have 3 days of events. That's the other thing about WBFF. Like it's so interactive where they have like a media day where everyone gets super glammed up and meets and you take pictures and there's like a red carpet. So yeah, I think Orlando would be really fun just for, like you said, like the bigger experience. There's a lot more, like, social media, like, viral WBFF competitors that go to that show. And then I get to just have like a vacation right after,
Mhm.
which what's better than that? And my both of my best friends live in Florida, which has been really hard for me. So they weren't able to come to my show and they would be able to go to that one next year.
In the meantime, are you so like you said, you just try to stay, like, leaner so it's not as drastic as a, like, a cut before you get there. What else are you doing to kinda mentally prepare to get back on stage again?
I'm giving myself a break. So I think that in order to get yourself ready for such a intense few months, regardless of like what you're working towards, I'm sure there's so many other things in life. People do races and different things. Like before you're ready to prep your body, you need to give your body a rest. So I'm giving myself a break, a mental break
Mm,
from extreme tracking. I'm giving myself more food freedom and listening to my body and doing more intuitive eating and just having fun, but making sure that I train with intent. And I also have a couple clients who want to start a prep for shows. So while I'm giving myself a little bit of a rest, I'll be able to work at preps with other people, which I think will just give me some more motivation to work even harder this year.
yeah. That's so cool. So, as of right now, are you accepting any new in-person clients, or are you just accepting online? Like, what's your availability right now?
So I'm pretty booked, which I'm very grateful for. I am at the gym just during the week. I'm not there on the weekends. I do hair on Saturdays and Sundays are my day off, but I do have a little bit of availability for morning clients. I think I could probably take about 2 to 4 more sessions during the week, but I am openly accepting online clients right now. I haven't actually publicly posted about them, but I plan to soon. So maybe once this drops, then I'll kind of share the link. Online is great because you get all of your workouts
Yeah.
personalized for you. There's a platform to do check ins with me. There's a chat feature. You're able to upload your photos. And I do offer nutritional guidance with my online clients as well.
As far as pricing goes, is it a little cheaper online or is it roughly the same? Because I know
Nope,
you're
it's
still getting so much.
yeah, it's definitely more affordable just because I am not right there with you. And it is a reoccurring charge. So there's a couple options. There's a charge for if you just want to purchase 1 month will be a little more. But then there's the option for reoccurring payments where
Mm,
automatically every month you get a withdrawal and you automatically get everything uploaded and changed for you every month. But that's why I wanted to do that too, because I have some clients in person who need to take a break or move or just can't afford it right now. It's an investment. And then I'm able to kind of still be with them at a more affordable price range.
that's awesome. I love that for you. So, if you guys are listening to this, definitely reach out to Brittany to get some personal training and some nutrition guidance. She's amazing. As you guys could hear from this entire episode, she is so knowledgeable and just so motivational to work with. So, definitely reach out to her and get one of those online.
Thank you.
I just want to ask you before we end today, I want to ask each and every single guest that I have on this podcast, what is your one tip that you use to get out of your own way?
Stop listening to the voice in your head that's telling you every single day to question yourself and start listening to your gut. In my life, my first instinct decision has always been the right one. And the voices that follow after are usually the ones shying me away from the best thing I could do for myself. So just whatever it is that you think of that you feel is right, go for it and don't listen to anything else.
Dang, that's a mic drop right there. That's amazing. Follow your gut, people, and just, yeah, get out of your own way and just keep focusing on what your gut's telling you and don't listen to those stupid, stupid voices in your head. So, Brittany, where can people find you and connect with you?
My social media is very simple. It is just at Brittany Geremia on Instagram, at Brittany Geremia on TikTok. My TikTok is not as fantastic as my Instagram, but you can just find me there. Feel free to shoot me a message. Any questions? I also have a link in my bio to my website where you can fill out forms for new client inquiries. So I hope to see you guys on there.
Awesome. Well, Brittany, thank you so much for coming on the show. This is my first guest episode that's going to be launching. I thought you would be an amazing first guest to have.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited. I did notice that you hadn't had any guests on yet, so I was really excited to be the first one. And it was so fun.
Thank you guys so, so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.
Bye.